building a better Bay Area. Moving forward, finding solutions. This is ABC 7 News.
Hi there, I'm Kristen Z. You're watching Getting Answers live on ABC 7, Hulu Live, and wherever you stream. We ask experts your questions every day at 3 to get answers for you in real time. And it is President's Day. We are doing the same. Coming up in about 10 minutes, we'll dive into the story that everybody's talking about, a massive bear on the loose in South Lake Tahoe, breaking into homes. We'll talk with a resident about her encounter with Hank the Tank. Also, a little later, we'll look ahead to the weekend and some very exciting events honoring Black History Month in Oakland. But first, there's always more news on the pandemic, and today the COVID booster is once again making headlines. New studies suggest if you have that third dose, you may not need a fourth one. Joining us to talk about that is UCSF infectious diseases specialist, Dr. Peter Chin Hong. Dr. Chin Hong, it is a holiday weekend, so thank you extra for being here.
My pleasure, Kristen. Thanks for having me on.
I do see that you may be outside enjoying this holiday in the lovely weather, which is great. But look, I want to get to this because even as we relax mask restrictions, even as we kind of tiptoe into endemic mode, the question looms, how soon before people will need another shot, right? That fourth shot, that second booster. So there's some new studies today that may shed some light on this. So talk to us about that.
Yeah, so I think that the studies first started with the Israeli data showing that the fourth dose didn't really give the bang for the buck as it expected in the general population, so that, it didn't really seem to protect with infection as much as the third shot did, for example. But when you look at specific age groups, there's the idea that, in those over 65, for example, it may have, additional benefits. But ideally, the 3 shots in most people will probably do the job. 2 shots even in some people will have B cell and T cell memory that lasts possibly for years and could address new variants as well.
Okay, for the layman, it's really kind of hard to understand T cells, B cells, but I guess the idea is there's memory, right? That your body retains memory and of these cells, or then they kind of fight when they need to fight. Explain that to us.
Yeah, so let me think about that house, and you have a big gate around the house.
Okay.
And the guards at the gate, they're up all night. Those are the antibodies, and they fall asleep after 3 to 6 months.
Okay.
But try to have the enemy come inside the house, and those pit bulls that have memory are going to come out of sleeping and then pounce and eat that enemy and kick them out of the house. So those pit bulls inside of you, inside the house, those are your memory T cells and B cells. The guards at the gate that are falling asleep, those are your antibodies. They wane over 3 to 6 months. Mm-hmm. But nevertheless, in most people, the vaccines develop those pit bulls inside and they stay active, we think, for many, many years, as the most recent studies suggest.
Got it. So those guards may go to sleep, but the pit bulls, they stay with you and they'll do the job when they need to. And that is part of the reason why we may not, most of us may not need that fourth shot. But are there certain groups that may still benefit from an additional booster? Who would they be? Yeah,
there will be at least 3 populations. So the first 2 would probably be those who will use the additional shot to prevent serious disease. And they may be the elderly population, although we don't have as much guidance for that right now, and not exactly now, maybe later on in the winter time. Mm-hmm. The second population is an immune-compromised population. They're already getting 4 shots, and that's not really to give additional reminders. That's really to increase the chance that they're going to have a vaccine response. And the third group is kind of interesting, and it's not really to necessarily prevent serious disease, because they are well protected by 3 shots. But in some situations, a population like healthcare workers may need to be preserved in terms of a workforce. So you may even want to prevent infection. So in that case, you may give a booster so that the guards will come back to life at the front gate to prevent infection, even though the pit bull is always going to be alive.
That is the best analogy I've heard in some time, and it makes total sense. So thank you for that. All right, so I want to ask you about vaccine requirements being dropped. New today, I think Israel said it's going to open its borders to unvaccinated tourists. And locally, Contra Costa County and some others, they've lifted their vaccination requirements for indoor restaurant dining and gym visits. So I wonder if you think that's a requirement that should be turned on or off, like the mask mandate, or, you know, what do you think about that? And especially, you know, when they drop that at the same time as the mask mandate being dropped.
Well, Kristen, there's no easy answer. There are two ways to think about a vaccine requirement in indoor settings. The first is to encourage people to get vaccinations. For example, in France, when they first had their indoor dining requirement for vaccinations, like 2 million French people got vaccines like the day before because they couldn't give up their indoor dining. So that's the encouragement part, the carrot. The second reason is really to make that environment very safe. And one would say that as numbers go down, you don't really need to make sure that environment inside is safe anymore if they go down really to sea level. So that's really where the debate is going.
All right. You're not going to really stake your claim on one side of that debate, are you?
Well, okay, if you really push me to it, I would really love that we get as many people vaccinated as possible because it really preserves our hospitals. And it just keeps morale higher in the healthcare workforce. So that's kind of where I come down to. And it makes me feel safer when I go inside. But I understand where people are coming from by dropping the mandates in certain areas. And that's kind of why I gave both sides.
Okay. Reasonable. Thank you. Thank you. I saw in the New York Times, they're reporting that the CDC has not been publishing large portions of the COVID data it collects. So they got the data on boosters, hospitalizations, and I think wastewater analyses, which they were not really publicizing. What is that about?
So there are two reasons why the CDC sits on data without sort of letting it loose. The first is just bureaucracy. You know, I've worked with the CDC before on a bunch of studies, and it has to go through so many layers of approval and this person, this group, that by the time they get it out, it's kind of not as timely. And that's why sometimes states like California can be more nimble with their data because they're like looking at it all the time. It's more well organized than some other places. The second reason is, of course, political. The CDC is a political arm of the government. We'd love that, you know, all of the science coming out is, you know, apolitical, but unfortunately in this time and age, regardless of what administration there is going to be a spin in which the science that's released is, you know, in concert with the message that's being trying to be introduced at the same time.
But as a doctor, do you believe they should release all that data as promptly as possible?
Definitely. I mean, I think people can decide what is good data and what's not. Yeah. And at least having the data available broadly, maybe in a database that's some people can easily access, and then you interpret the data. Information is all science, and data is always power. And the more you release it, I think the more trust people have.
All right. The Omicron surge is declining quickly, thankfully, but some are worried about BA2, saying it spreads actually 30% more easily, I think is what I read. Has it led to another wave in other countries post-Omicron? And I wonder if you think it's going to happen here?
It may happen here. I wouldn't be surprised as travel opens up, but it wouldn't lead to another surge. It'd probably lead to just a slower descent down. The train has already left the station in terms of the decline. But if you look at Denmark and possibly the UK, we think that BA2 is, if you look at Denmark's curve, it's actually crazy because it's still very high. Their hospitalization, however, is very low. And if we think about that coming to US, that might also happen as well.
Okay. Now that masking is, for the most part, a question of should I rather than must I, how should we approach it? Is there a sensible threshold for you in terms of transmission, or is it something else? Walk us through how to think about that.
Yeah, so right now we're moving from a sledgehammer, everybody doing the same thing approach, to one that's very individual and personal and depends on you and who you live with. So there are a few groups of people who I think should definitely think about keeping their mask going. Those are those who are older than 65 who are unboosted for the reasons we talked about earlier. The second group is immune compromised. The third group is people who live with any of these particular populations. And the fourth is like if you're planning a trip or a big event, you're flying across the country, you definitely don't want to get even a mild breakthrough infection because you'll have to isolate for these 5 days. So that's the way I think about it. I'm not as worried about going into a store and not everybody wearing a mask anymore because we've gotten better information about the type of mask. So I'm not going to wear a cloth mask. And even if I wear a good mask in a crowded indoor setting like a KN95 or at least a surgical mask, it's much better than in the old days when I really needed everyone masks. But now I kind of am able to protect myself.
All right. Thinking about individual situations, I'll just mention that I recently was on a flight, and next to me was the mother of a 2-year-old. So she was all done up the way Nathan Chen was before his competition with the N95 and a cloth and a face shield. But, you know, that wasn't what Nathan Chen did after he won the gold medal. He switched to the surgical. I noticed that in the TV shot. So I think you just got to look at what's happening in your life, right?
Yes, exactly. That big trip, don't risk it. Protect yourself, even if you might get a mild infection.
Exactly. No. You don't throw away years of preparations for the Olympics. Anyway, and you don't throw away the rest of your weekend. And thank you very much for spending time with us on this holiday, Dr. Peter Chin Hong. We'll talk to you again soon.
Thanks so much, Kristen.
All right, take care. Coming up next, tracking Hank the Tank. A Lake Tahoe resident, will be joining us to share her close encounter with that massive bear that's making a name for himself by breaking into homes. We'll be right back. All right, everybody, it's President's Day. So shout out to those of you who are watching us today. And we're going to show you a shot of Santa Cruz because we kind of all wish we were at the beach, right? All right, be right back with the bear story. It's crazy. We got crazy video. Stick around. It's a story that's grabbing a lot of attention on social media. A 500-pound bear has ransacked dozens of homes in Lake Tahoe. His nickname is Hank the Tank. Fish and wildlife officials are trying to track him down, but what do they do with him? That's the subject of heated controversy and debate in the South Tahoe community. Hank has been blamed for 40 break-ins since July. Joining us now is Wendy Vorsanger, one of the homeowners who has had 2 close for comfort encounters with Hank, and not just Hank. Wendy, thank you for joining us on this holiday.
It's nice to see you.
All right, so you are a former Bay Area resident now living in Lake Tahoe, and you've had several encounters with Hank, I think. We're going to show some video that you shared with us while you tell us about what have you seen Hank doing, how has he affected you. How far back does this go, by the way?
Well, so I don't know exactly how old Hank is, but we've been in the area now 2 years in this particular neighborhood where Hank is sort of terrorizing everybody. He lives around, he does not hibernate. He breaks into people's homes for food. Yeah.
And so he's
right
broken
through our
into your
front
home.
door. Yeah. So we're really careful about our trash. We don't keep any trash inside of our house. We don't have trash in our garage. Oh, I love the wanted poster. We take our trash to the dumpster bin that is bear proof. But he just knows front doors are where it's at. So he just broke through our front door at 2:00 in the morning. And that was pretty shocking, but they don't like dogs. Bears don't like dogs. So our dogs and my screaming sort of got him to kind of go away. But after the door frame was reinforced with steel, because he smashed the entire door down, he came back and tried to do it again, but he didn't make it through the door that time.
Okay,
but
there's
the door. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I think in the latest break-in, authorities say Hank broke in through a window, so he's really smart.
Yeah, he just knows doors and windows and garages. They tend to, well, there are lots of bears in the Keys break into homes, but they can punch through sort of the garage frame and then just lift it up. And then a lot of times there's refrigerators in there and they can snack on things in refrigerators.
Okay,
they know
this is your
doors,
video
windows.
As well, by the way, those are what he's looking for food in those bins in the trash.
Right. So the one on the left is those are bear boxes, so he can't get in there. But oftentimes on Sundays, they're full. And so people will just throw their trash. And oftentimes they'll put a dumpster, like an extra dumpster that is open. That black one right there is shut. It's actually sealed shut, but oftentimes they have them just open and there's just bears all over. They need to manage their trash better. Okay,
so I was just going to ask you, like, who do you blame, right? Is it you know, I don't know if it's a homeowners association, you mentioned Tahoe Keys, is their fault for not having enough of the lock boxes? Is it residents who say, whatever, I'll just put it out on the street because that's full? Or, I mean, what is it? What needs to happen?
I mean, their policies in the Tahoe Keys is to just put trash cans on trash day on the corner. That's the number one problem, right? So trash day, he loves, they come out in the mornings and just there's trash everywhere. They need bear boxes so people can secure their trash outside. That's the number one thing they need to do. Because it's not just Hank, there's so many bears all throughout the whole Keys because they know that this trash is not secured properly.
Okay, so have you seen them get aggressive with people?
No, I mean, they really don't like people. We would have bears coming through our yard once a week, once every other week, mama bears, baby bears, big bears, Hank. And we would always haze them away, right? You don't want the bears near us. So we would use air horns and pots and pans, and they don't like dogs. So we put a dog barking machine. I really recommend this. It's called Rex. You can get it on Amazon. If anybody lives up there or has second homes up there, you should have it always on when you're not home, facing towards the door. It can it has like infrared that goes through the door. So if Hank comes to the door or any other bear, it'll hear the barking, the vicious barking, and they won't go in.
Okay.
Or at least you'll have a better chance of saving your property.
Yeah. Okay, real quickly, I want to put up part of a statement from the Department of Fish and Wildlife that they shared with ABC 7 News. By the way, they say they're looking for a sanctuary to take Hank to, but it says right here, we're looking for a sanctuary that may be willing to take it. We're considering relocation, and certainly euthanasia is always a measure of last resort, but we are exploring all options with this particular bear. Wendy, you tell me, but to me, all those are bad options, aren't they?
Yeah, I mean, well, he's so big. I don't see how he could be contained in a zoo or something like that. I mean, what I'm wondering is, what about Desolation Wilderness? What about Ansel Adams Wilderness? Like, he could be taken several 100 miles away, 500, 300 miles away, and maybe that would help, and he could teach himself again how to forage, because clearly he doesn't know how to forage or hunt. Maybe that's a better idea. It's not his fault, right? That he
never learned how to do it, how to be a bear, so to speak.
He grew up having snack bar all over the Tahoe Keys, right? So it's not his fault. I mean, I would prefer if he wasn't killed, but he's not going to stop because he knows the drill now, right? Front door, window, garage, I'll eat all night. And he's not hibernating. None of them hibernate there because they get food all year round.
Well, okay, so some say maybe we shouldn't build homes in their habitat, but we are. What do you say to that?
Sure, like in the more remote areas, but like the Tahoe Keys has been there since the 60s. So I don't know. I mean, do you get rid of all those homes? Theoretically, I agree with that, but I think really we need to have more evolving and intelligent environmental protection policies around wildlife and land use for land that's already there. And the first thing that would really help is just simple bear boxes outside everyone's home. Stick your trash in there, lock it. They won't be able to get in. Super simple. He'll be frustrated. And then, you know, rehabituating them to not coming in the homes, you know, electrifying your windows, putting the dark barking dog thing at your door. That helps. Bear mats, like electrified bear mats, that helps.
You've given us a lot to think about. Wendy, thank you so very much for sharing your story. And as we wait to find out what will happen to Hank the Tank, we'll have more on his story tomorrow on our news streaming show, ABC7 at 7. An expert from the Department of Fish and Wildlife will be joining us live, and you can watch the entire show on demand by downloading the ABC7 Bay Area app. Coming up next, celebrating the Black community in Oakland. We'll look ahead to a very special event to honor Black History Month. Be right back. All right, everybody. Wendy gave us some tips. If you're a tourist up in Tahoe and you encounter a bear, keep those tips in mind. We have a great segment coming up, so stick around while you enjoy this moment of Zen from Santa Cruz Beach. This Black History Month, we're honoring the people and organizations making an impact in the Black community and on the Black community here in the Bay Area. Oakland's Black roots run deep, and the town is inviting everyone to join the 5th annual Black Joy Parade. It's the largest free, family-friendly event of its kind in California. Joining us now to talk about that is Peter Gamez, the president and CEO of Visit Oakland. Thank you so much for joining us today, Peter.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
All right, this is very exciting. Coming up this Sunday, the 5th annual Black Joy Parade. Tell us about it.
Well, it's going to be amazing. It's actually one of my favorite events here that takes place in Oakland. First of all, it's free. It's a family-friendly parade and festival that celebrates the whole Black experience, past, present, and future here in Oakland. What else I love about it is that besides the parade, there's also at the end of the parade a great area where you can meet with vendors and celebrate everything local here going on in Oakland.
That's amazing. You don't happen to have as Grand Marshal, the first Black female vice president of the U.S. was born in Oakland, Kamala Harris, would you?
I know, I wish, but you know, there's so many other things to celebrate besides Kamala Harris, who's amazing. Remember, you know, here in Oakland is where the Black Panther Party began, the deep rooted town in Black history. That actually this whole month we're celebrating so many other activities besides the Black Joy Parade. You know, the iconic Smokey Robinson, he's coming to the Paramount. He's going to be live on February 26th here. Ooh. As well as we have West Coast legends of hip hop. They're coming to the Paramount. Warren G, Too Short, Digital Underground, Lunas, and DJ Quick on February 25th.
Wow, there is a whole lot in terms of performances and other events to celebrate Black History Month all this month. Are there also restaurants involved too?
Well, that's actually one of my favorite topics is to eat. Of course, you know, Oakland's culinary scene is as diverse as the town culture itself. We have more than 40 Black-owned food and drink businesses in Oakland, from Home of Chicken and Waffles down here on Jack London Square to Horn Barbecue. And my favorite for cocktails is Sobremesa. We had from food trucks to Michelin star cuisine and vegan bites. Oakland has it all.
All right, so you mentioned a little bit about Black Panther Party and the social movement that began in Oakland. For those who are too young to remember, give us just a brief summary of that history.
Well, we actually are offering this month a Black Liberation Walking Tour, which was named as one of the best Black history tours in the United States by Condé Nast Travel magazine. And Black Panther Party Alumni Legacy Oakland Tour is hosted by original Black Panther alumni, for those that are interested.
Wow. Okay. Hey, was this parade held last year during the pandemic?
No, it was not held. So this is coming back. We're anticipating up to 25,000 people in downtown Oakland.
All right. And any suggestions for folks who are coming in terms of just how to safely have a good time?
Well, I know how I'm going to start is I'm going to start off with brunch. And there's some great brunch places on the Black Joy Parade website that people can enjoy brunch before the parade. Mm-hmm. And I'm a big fan of public transportation. So get on ferry, get on BART, and get over to Oakland to experience this amazing event.
How do you recommend people get there?
Well, BART, ferry, or you can drive. There's several parking areas within the downtown area.
All right, fantastic. I wonder if there are any more great, for example, performances or arts events that you haven't yet mentioned in our segment, because we have just about a minute left. So I don't want to leave out any of the great stuff.
Thank you so much. Well, I don't want to leave out the Oakland Museum of California, known as OMCA, showcasing mothership voyage into Afrofuturism. It's where you can experience the work of jazz musicians, filmmakers, and see many fun interactive exhibits. That will be on display throughout the end of February, so keep that in mind.
Okay. By the way, for folks who are attending the Sunday's parade and procession, I wonder if you can give us the starting point or perhaps the best vantage point?
Well, the best vantage point will be on Broadway Street, so Broadway and 10th, and moving up within an 8-block radius.
Okay. And are there any mask or vaccination requirements?
No, there is not.
Okay.
It's going to be outdoors.
That's right. All right. Safest place to be, outdoors. Thank you so much,
right.
Peter. Don't go away. We can continue to chat on Facebook Live, but for folks who want to see more stories about Black History Month, go to our ABC7 Bay Area streaming app. It's available on Apple TV, Android TV, Fire TV, and Roku. We'll be right back. All right, Peter, I just want to thank you for joining us. Sounds fantastic this whole month. You have quite a lot planned. I wonder if also this is a key component to really revival for a lot of the businesses that I anticipate they've suffered a lot during the 2 years that we've had, right?
Sure, with the closures, as you've been reporting so well on, hospitality's been hit hard. Hotels, restaurants, anything that requires venues for gatherings. So really having this 5th annual Black Joy Parade taking place is really kind of like Oakland's opportunity to come out and welcome people back again. So besides having the Black History Month activities in Oakland, even starting in March, we're going to have Restaurant Week, which is really focusing on all the culinary champions that we have here in Oakland and getting our restaurants back to work.
All right. Well, congratulations in advance, Peter, on the offerings. They all sound great, and I do hope folks will check it out on our website as well as yours, which is what? Give us the website address.
Yeah, it's, so the visitoakland.com.
All right, visitoakland.com. Thank you so much.
Thank you. We hope to see you here.
All right, take care. All right, folks, just about ready to come back from commercial break. Hope you had a very nice long weekend. If you had to work today, thanks for tuning in, but hopefully you got a nice 3-day weekend. Look at this. Gorgeous. A little windy overnight, I thought, but still really pretty. Thank you so much for joining us on this interactive show, Getting Answers. We'll be here every weekday at 3 o'clock on air and on live stream answering your questions. World News Tonight is coming up next, and I'll see you back here at 4 o'clock. Bye-bye.